it's super warm this year, and it's going to get warmer in the next few days. So right now is a really good time to start planting our tomatoes in, which we would normally plant about 10 days or 15 days from now. But this year we're getting a super warm season. So Khaled here with the Plant Charmer channel. Today I'm showing you guys how to grow single stem tomatoes vertically in your garden. So without further ado, let's get going. All right, so let's talk about our support structures quickly. If you notice behind me, we have these two wooden frames that I've built a couple of years back. They're actually built out of framing studs. So framing lumber 2x3x8s. They just have this metal angle in the corners. It's actually quite flimsy, but the thing is it's not going to move from there. So we have that leaned against the fence, and we have it zip tied to the fence there. But the trick is really to give it an angle, and then with the weight of the plants it's going to stay there. Of course, tying it in is absolutely necessary, because if you get some strong winds, then it might topple over and your plants are going to get ripped out. So this trellis here has regular cucumber netting or plant netting that I've put on. The reason I'm using this is because it allows me, as opposed to using a rope, for example, like I use in other productions, it allows me to just put the clips in. So if you guys notice here, these are plants from last year. We're going to clear these before we plant, but I have these tomato clips here. Let me get closer to the camera so you guys can see that. Very cheap. I think I buy boxes of like 6,000 for $50. Of course, you'll pay a little bit more at retail price, but it's very affordable. And what these do, they're normally made to have the string going in here in the opening and then closed like this, and then the plant is supported. But what I'm doing with them is I'm putting that around the stem, and I'm just putting that directly in one of those links here in that trellis. So as the plants grow, I'll be able to actually clip it higher and higher and higher up. So it's a bit of a lazy solution. It works just as well as the ropes, but it allows you to just, you know, make it a take the clip out, put it on, done deal type of thing. So let's have a look at our second structure here. This one is similar. It's made out of framing lumber. The difference is the trellis or the netting that I'm using. So I'm not really sure what that was used for. My neighbor had that and I took it. I salvaged it actually from their yard a couple of years back. I think it was to wrap some trees for the winter or something like that. But this is not going to let as much light from the back as this guy here, but it's actually very sturdy. So since we're getting a lot of light from this direction in the morning and then up here at midday, that's going to be enough for our tomatoes. So I'm not too concerned about this trellis shading the tomatoes from the back or whatever when the sun gets to this side. However, this is going to be super sturdy. So same thing, we plant our tomatoes at the base of these trellises, and then once the plants actually grow up, we just support them by clipping them using tomato clips to either this trellis or this trellis. All right, so let's talk about which types of plants are suitable for these techniques or these methods and which are not. So the plants I have here are San Marzano. San Marzano is actually a paste tomato. So Italian tomato, great for making sauces. This is, by the way, the secret to making a killer pizza sauce or pasta sauce. So you guys have the trick now. But yeah, so these they're San Marzano, so that's good to know. But what's more important to know is they are an indeterminate variety. So in tomatoes, you've got two families of tomatoes, or two major types, which are the indeterminate tomatoes and you've got the determinate tomatoes. So the difference is, as their names imply, the determinate tomato will grow to a determinate size and then it's going to fruit. So it's not going to happen in 1 week, of course, but you'll probably have your fruits in the span of 3 weeks to a month. So ripening happens in that period. So harvest is pretty much concentrated. A lot of commercial productions are done like this, especially mechanically harvested for obvious reasons. Of course, when they pass with the machine, they don't want to harvest the ripe and the unripe. So they want a tomato that is ripe, one shot. But the problem is with these tomatoes is they make a bush, they don't vine. And so growing up a trellis, we need a tomato that vines. So indeterminate simply means, as its name implies again, that the tomato is actually a variety that will grow to an indeterminate size. So being here in Canada, what terminates these tomatoes is going to be winter and the cold. But if you're in a tropical region or a place where tomatoes can actually grow year round, for example, a greenhouse, well, in greenhouses, they'll change their plants every 12 to 18 months or so, depending on which tomatoes they're using. If they're very aggressive on changing the plants, they'll change them every six months. But the plants can definitely live a lot longer than they live in our gardens. So these plants will actually grow up and they'll start, of course, suckering, so growing side branches, but they'll mainly put their energy and we're going to help it do that as well into that main stem here. So these plants will actually grow one vine because we'll train them to do that, but more importantly, they'll just keep flowering again and again over the season. So it's not because a tomato is a paste tomato that it's automatically indeterminate or determinate. There's both varieties in all sorts of tomatoes, so cherry tomatoes, all the beefsteak type tomatoes, Roma tomatoes, and everything in between really has some varieties which are going to be indeterminate, and then varieties that are determinate. So that's going to be easy to figure out if you actually read the packages of seeds or just Google some information around. Very easy to figure out. So so this is definitely an indeterminate tomato. We're going to plant more indeterminates in a further video. They're going to be mainly cherry because we don't eat much beefsteak here. I don't eat tomatoes. I eat tomato sauce though. So lots of San Marzano, lots of cherry tomatoes for my nieces are going to be planted here. But yeah, so you guys know, indeterminate tomatoes is what you need to grow vertically. All right, so let's talk a little bit about preparing to put these tomatoes in the ground. So first thing you want to do, of course, is dig some holes. So your holes are going to be dug using a shovel. Ideally, a pointed shovel like this is going to be easier to dig with as opposed to a spade or like a square type shovel. I'm not sure how that's called, if it has a specific name, but yeah, that shovel works really nicely. So what you want to do first of all is determine your spacing. So the spacing I'm going to be using, it's a little approximate actually. I did not measure it, but we're aiming for about 1 foot to 1.5 foot, but closer to 1.5 foot between plants. So if you look here, I probably have even a little bit more than that. I probably have 1.75 foot, but you don't want to put the plants 6 feet apart, but you don't want to put them 6 inches apart either, because as you guys may or may know, I think it's common knowledge that tomatoes get very large. And so especially when you take care of them and grow them vertically and give them food and they have everything they want. So let's have a closer look. Actually, if you look here, these holes I've actually dug are about more or less 8 or 9 inches deep. The reason I'm using this depth is because my plants are about let's say 10 inches tall, but we're going to bury the plants all the way to here pretty much. I'll talk about that in the next segment. That's called burying the plant to its shoulders, and I'll tell you guys the reasons why we want to do that. So you don't want to bury the whole thing. So if I had a foot deep hole, then the plants would actually get buried completely. The foliage is not going to get buried, but some of the stem will. And so in order to achieve a good ratio on a plant of this size, we want to put it in about six inches or so about here more or less. So we're just going to drop these plants in, and once we recover actually these holes with soil, we'll have the exact setup that we want. So once you've dug your holes about 1.5 foot apart, you want to put some fertilizer in that hole. One of the reasons why you want to do that is for phosphorus, amongst other things. Phosphorus is a fertilizer that does not degrade very quickly, and it does not move through the soil. So this is chicken manure, that's the large pellets, and then the smaller pellets are a 4-6-8 recipe that includes bone meal and feather meal. But the 4-6-8 is very strong in phosphorus. It's got 6%, and even stronger in potassium. So these fertilizers we will benefit from putting directly in the root zone, because potassium is water soluble, so it's going to be available for the plants this season, but phosphorus is very slow to degrade, does not move through the soil, so unless you've got some in the root zone, it's going to be difficult to incorporate later. So let's just recap quickly. Plants is about 10 inches tall. We want a hole that's 8 or 9 inches deep, and we put our holes 1 foot to 2 feet apart, depending how much density you want to handle or how much trimming you want to do. Put a little handful, sprinkle of fertilizer, so about this much per hole, and then you're ready to plant. All right, so our tomato plants are in our planting holes. Of course, we got fertilizers as we saw before. That's already incorporated in there. Now what we want to do is, well, by the way, if you guys notice, it's actually a pretty good depth in the sense that once we actually cover the plant with soil, it's going to be covered all the way to here, so we could dig a little deeper if we wanted to actually with our hand and then put it in just a wee bit deeper. But the important thing to do right now, excuse me, I just saw my fingers on the camera. The important thing to do right now is to actually remove all of the leaves that are going to be buried under the soil. So here's an easy way to remove leaves from a plant, by the way. So if you actually pull up, the leaves don't come out. But if you actually put your finger here and just push down, they come off. So if you actually go at the right angle, they just come right off, just pushing down. And so this plant is actually ready to put in the ground. We've left the larger leaves on, we've cleaned out the bottom of the stem, and then we're going to put that in. We're going to cover with soil. So that's pretty much the soil I dug out of that hole before, so we're just putting it back where it was. All right, so tap the soil very slightly around just for good root soil contact. Now let me just explain quickly the reason why we buried a part of the stem. If you look at a tomato plant really close, I'm not sure how much focus or we can get on there. I think you guys can see that. Let me know if it wasn't visible, but normally what you would see is there's small hairs actually on the along the stem and on the branches, and what that does is basically these are immature, not developed yet roots. So these plants have a tendency to root from the stem. So if you actually bury the stem down inside, down in the soil, what's going to happen is the plant is going to develop roots all along this stem, which will give you a stronger plant. So instead of having just this little root ball, which is pretty nice, but would like to get more roots, because more roots, more shoots, more fruits. All right, so all of our plants are in. The bottom of our stems has been trimmed naked, and we have all of our plants exactly the depth we want. Fertilizer in, soil at the right level. If you guys notice, there's a slight depression in the soil. You're going to do that if you're trying to retain moisture. It's actually quite dry here, so I'm hoping to have a little bit of water pull up in this area and feed the plants, especially down the line. They're going to need a lot of water because we're going to make these really big, and that's it. At this point, you want to give them a good watering. If you notice, my plants are most of them are actually okay, but some of them have gone a little limp, and that's my fault. So if you want to avoid that happening to you when you plant, you should actually make sure your plants are well hydrated before you plant them. So you're going to plant early afternoon, you get up in the morning, give them a really good watering, and when you get there around noonish or so, your plants will be standing up, perky, and ready to go in the ground and handle all the stress you're about to put them through. All right, all of our tomatoes are in the ground, they're buried perfectly. Now the only thing we have left to do is give them a really good thorough watering. So I'm using my trusted hose link. Really great hose. The water guns are cool, but yeah, the hose is actually retractable, so I really like that. So we're gonna turn that on. Sorry guys, there we go. All right, so shower mode, always best. It kind of replicates the rain. Pretty strong rain, but yeah, we're not staying in one spot very long. So as you guys can see, we're just starting by moistening the surface a little. The reason why we don't insist, and you'll probably notice that in my other videos as well, I never water in a single pass, because you're asking too much from the soil in terms of absorbing large quantities of water all in one shot, and your soil is probably a little bit dry because you were just playing in it and turning it over. And as you guys will probably notice, when you do that on a sunny day, it actually dries out your soil really quickly. Another thing you guys must know while you actually watch me water this stuff is that transplanting on a sunny day, anything, it's not about tomatoes, it's really about plants in general, transplanting on a sunny day is not a good idea. So ideal conditions are overcast conditions, and the reason for that is that you're stressing out the root system, and you're actually putting these plants in a place where the sun's going to bake them right away. So the root system stress plus the drying out from the sun is usually pretty stressful for the plants, so you might have small setbacks because of this. But if you use this technique I'm using now, don't flood, just keep going. And I'm going to be going like that for a good 5 minutes or so up and down my little row, making sure all of my plants are really well watered. That's going to give them the moisture they need to start growing. It's going to ensure great soil root contact, and it's going to start activating those fertilizers we've put in as well. Let me just put that aside. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, my name is The Plant Charmer. Actually, no, my name is Khaled, but online I'm known as The Plant Charmer. I show you guys how to grow great tomatoes so you can make great sauces, awesome pizzas, and impress the one you love. Take it easy. I'll see you next time.